This video will show you how to use the Pythagorean theorem. So a squared plus b squared represents the leg or the sides of the triangle, and c squared represents your hypotenuse. In order to use the Pythagorean theorem, you have to have a right triangle. How do you know it's a right triangle? Because you will see that 90-degree angle symbol, and that lets you know. So it does not matter which leg that you use for A or B. It does matter what you use for C. C is the longest side of the triangle, which is your hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is always directly across from that right angle symbol. So you can't go wrong if you understand that. Let's go ahead and substitute in what we know. We know for A, we can either use 4 or 8. I'm going to use 4, and we're asked to square it, then add it to B, square that, and C is X in this triangle, and we're also squaring that. So now we simplify it. 4 squared just means 4 times 4. 8 squared means 8 times 8. And then we have X squared. Our directions ask us to find the value of X. So therefore, we're going to have to get rid of that square. And in order to do so, we will take the inverse, which is to square root it. So we're going to take the square root of both sides, and we're going to end up with X is equal to, if I simplify underneath the radical, 16 plus 64, that's 80. My directions ask me to find the value of X in simplest radical form. So if I take the square root of 80, that is really going to be 16 times 5. So square root of 16 times 5. I can further simplify the square root of 16, which is 4 times 4. And so my X value is going to be 4, and I can't do anything with that radical 5, so I have to leave it there. This is my final answer for example 1. For example 2, we are asked to find the value of X. Again, what I would suggest is that you go ahead and write your Pythagorean theorem down and just substitute what you know. So we know directly across from our 90-degree angle is our hypotenuse. So again, it's going to be X in this example. The other ones, I have 5 squared plus an expression, which is the quantity of X minus 1 squared, and it's equal to X. 5 squared is 25. Now here, this is where some students get confused. This simply means take that expression and multiply it times itself. That's what squared means. You're just multiplying the number times itself, and then set it equal to X. Now, at this point, I can go ahead and bring down this 25. For this portion, I'm going to over to the side, show you. You can actually use the FOIL method. You can use the box method, or you can just take this first term, X, and then you're going to multiply it times the second set of parentheses, which is X minus 1. Then you're going to go back and you're going to take the second term that's in that first set of parentheses, which is negative 1. And you're going to, again, multiply times that second set of parentheses, which is X, the quantity of X minus 1. Now go ahead and distribute what's outside of that parentheses to what's inside. And I have X times X, which is X squared, X times negative 1, negative 1X. And then I have negative 1 times X, which again is negative X. So I'm just going to line those up. And then I have negative 1 times negative 1, which is positive 1. So now I can just go ahead and simplify down. I have X squared. Negative 1 plus negative 1 is really negative 2X, and then bring down that plus 1. So this is what I'm going to put in the place of all of that, because that's what that is, simplified. So X squared minus 2X plus 1 set equal to X. Now what I want to do is go ahead, I'm sorry, I've been saying X all along, it's X squared. All right, so what I want to do now is simplify everything by combining like terms. If I were to move this X squared over, then that's going to just go away. So now on the same side, I have 25 and I have 1. So I can go ahead and combine those to 26. And I also have a negative 2X. All of this is set equal to 0. Do not get rid of your equal sign. That's a common error. Now what I want to do is find X. So I'm going to subtract 26 on both sides. Negative 2X is equal to negative 26. And then I want to divide both sides by negative 2. Therefore, X will actually be positive 13. That's my final answer. If I wanted to check it, I can just go back and substitute in for X here. I have 13 minus 1. So this would become 12 on this side. And then over here, the X is 13. So 5 squared plus 12 squared is equal to 13 squared. Let's see if that's true. So 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. and 13 squared is 169. If I go ahead and I combine like terms on the left-hand side, I see that 25 plus 144 is actually 169. And so therefore it is equal to 169, which tells me I am dealing with a right triangle. That leads me into the Pythagorean inequalities theorem. So go ahead and take a look at this and write this down in your notes. Pay attention to the way that it's written. So if the hypotenuse is shown first, and then it shows the legs. So pay attention to that, because once you're actually trying to classify it, if you write it backwards, you're going to your symbols are going to be correct, but then you're going to think that this is the hypotenuse, but it's actually your legs if you wrote a squared plus b squared first. So pay attention to that, which is why when I'm demonstrating how to do something, you notice I always write the original formula, theorem, problem, whatever I need to start with so that I can substitute accordingly. You also need to know that if you are not given an actual triangle where you can look across from the 90-degree angle to determine your hypotenuse is the longest leg, or the longest side of your triangle. So that means it's the largest number. So if I'm looking at 7, 12, and 16, my hypotenuse, of course, is going to be 16 because that's the largest number. So that's what I'm going to put in the place of C. 16 squared is equal to 7 squared plus 12 squared. 16 squared is going to be 256. 7 squared is 49. And 12 squared is 144. Simplifying this, I see on the left-hand side, I can't do anything. It's just 256. And the right side, 49 plus 144 is 193. And I've been using the equal sign all along, but now I'm at the end. I need to determine is this going to be less than, greater than, or equal to. Well, they're not equal to each other. The 256 is actually larger. So according to my Pythagorean inequalities theorem, that means this is the rule that I'm going to follow. So therefore, this particular triangle would be obtuse. But as a side note, if you did the a squared plus b squared equals c squared method, you're going to accidentally have 193 first, and then you're going to have 256. And if you're not paying attention, it's still right if you do this, but if you see the less than sign, you're going to automatically think this, which would be incorrect, because you see the difference. This side started with the hypotenuse first versus down here, you started with the leg first. So pay attention to that. All right, let's go on over to the last example. And they're not going to always be in order. So again, you want to seek out the largest number, which is 5.2. That tells me that's going to be my hypotenuse. So I'm going to go ahead and put 5.2. And I have to square it. And then 3.8 squared plus 4.1 squared. And it doesn't matter which order I go in there. 5.2 squared is going to be 27.04. 3.8 times 3.8 is 14.44. 4.1 squared is 16.81. And if I were to combine the right side of the equal sign, that's going to be 31.25. I did it again. So instead of, I see that they're not equal, I see actually the 27.04 is less than 31.25. Again, if I'm looking above, my rule says that if it's less than, then therefore that particular triangle is going to be acute. So that is the answer for this one, based off of what was given. Okay, that's it for the video. Please remember to like and subscribe. Have an awesome day.
Subscribe.